Hello and welcome to the online hair clinic with me, Clara Alexander. I hope you're having a blessed day, and today I'm going to talk about my favourite topic, hair stranding, but in particular I'm going to talk about how does hair stranding get attached onto your own hair. The reason why I'm going to talk about that today is because that is probably the second most asked question when it comes to hair stranding. Some of you may have seen the videos that we've posted up in relation to hair stranding itself. You may have seen the official video that we have from one of our suppliers. But today I really want to talk to you about the ways in which we can attach the solution to your own hair. It is not magic. No, it's definitely not magic. There is a system to attaching the system onto your own hair. And we use 3 different ways, and today I want to show you each of the different ways, and I want to weigh up the pros and the cons of using each of those different methods. The first one I'm going to talk about is something that I don't really recommend that much to my clients as a standalone solution, but I think it's very powerful if you use it in addition to another method. And the first one I'm going to talk about is using clips. Now these are very, let me just show you the camera. So what happens is these clips are attached onto the system. If you're wearing an invisible end system, then the clips actually have got hair attached onto it, so it makes it even more discreet than if you're wearing another stranding solution. Now, the way these clips are attached, they're attached onto the strands itself, pretty much around the perimeter, and sometimes they can be also attached in the inner circle as well, depending on the size of the system that you do have. Now with the hair stranding, because you're pulling out your hair through the system, no, not literally pulling out your hair, but your hair is coming through the holes on the system, I tend to think that just using this method alone is not the best, and that's because you may not know how to pull the hair through the system, and also you can't see it. So anything different from what you can see, you're not visible to. The other reason why I tend not to use this as a standalone solution is because you're using it because you're wanting to take the system off and put it back on again, and take it off and put it back on again. Now the system itself, hair stranding, is a robust system, so it is very robust, but when it's not on your head, it can feel a little bit fragile, and it does look a little bit flimsy even though it's not. But if you've got the action that you're continuously clipping it in, clipping it out, taking it off, then that could reduce the lifespan of the system itself. So I do recommend using this in conjunction with another method, but I don't recommend using it on its own. The other reason why I wouldn't recommend using it on its own as well is because it has to be able to grip into an area where you've got a lot of hair. So if you've got, for instance, thinning on the top, you would literally need to buy a system that is larger than what you require in order to ensure that the grips grip appropriately. Otherwise, they're just not going to grip. So then that could be, from a budgeting perspective, you're having to buy something a lot more expensive than what you actually need. But also, it could also be the fact that because you got to have a larger system, if for whatever reason you have thinning all over, then it doesn't matter what size of the system is, you're not going to be able to use the clips, or the clips are not going to work as effectively as they should do. So that moves me on to the next option that we use, and the next option is very, very tiny little beads. I'm going to try and show them to you. Okay, can you see them? Oops, there's the camera. Can you see them in my hand? Just whittling it up. So these are really, really small little beads, and they've got like a silicone sort of protection in there. So if you can just see, if I go all the way through, there you go. So you can see that white thing in the middle? That is the silicone protection that is inside of the bead, which protects your hair. Now, the beads, they come in different colours and depending on the hair colour that you have. So they're meant to be as invisible as possible, but obviously because they're beads, you can actually feel them and touch them when you touch them. But so I tend to only put them in areas which are less visible. That is essentially the sides and the back of your hair. If you're wanting to pull your hair backwards, then I wouldn't recommend having the beads in the front area. I would say that we go to the third solution, which is invisible thread, but I'll talk about that in a second. But if you are not pulling your hair all the way forward, if you've got a fringe, for instance, or a swooping fringe or a short fringe, then you can actually use the beads all over. Now, the only reason why you can't use the beads is the same with the clips actually, is if you've got an allergy to nickel, because they are made of nickel, although they've got the protection inside. Once your scalp starts to rub against the nickel, then it could cause irritation, and you could actually come in with a rash if you're allergic to it. How do you know if you're allergic to nickel? Well, one of the things, if you've ever worn clipping extensions and they hurt you, the clips hurt you, then you know you're probably allergic to nickel. The other reason how you would know if you're allergic to nickel is if you've got the beads installed and after a couple of days you start to feel them itching you, then you will know you're allergic to nickel. If you're unsure, go get yourself tested. I'm sure you can get tested for allergies, and nickel is one of them. Most of the clients that wear the beads, they've not been allergic to. We have had a couple of instances where they weren't aware that we're allergic to nickel, and we literally had to take the beads out and use the other solution. Now, one of the good things that I like about the beads is the fact that they're very easy to install and also very easy to come out. I think that they are probably the safest method out of the whole three, in my opinion. And the other thing that I really like about the beads as well is the fact that they last the longest. So when we install your systems with invisible thread, there's a likelihood that the thread could slip a lot quicker than when we installed it with the beads. So the third one I want to talk about is the invisible threads. And the invisible threads, similar to what I spoke about last week, where I was introducing you to the system and how the system was created. So this is the invisible thread again. And basically what we do with this invisible thread is we use it to create small ponytails around the sections of your hair. So wherever the system is going to sit, we create those small ponytails. And in another session, I'll actually do a demonstration of me creating those knots so that you can see exactly what the knots look like. But they literally go as close to the scalp as possible. And the purpose of the knot is so that we can thread attach the system underneath the knot itself. So the knot is just creating a stop gun. So with the beads, when we're putting the beads in, we actually take your hair on either side of the stranding system, close it together, and then clamp the beads in place. When we are using the invisible thread, we actually create the knot first, and then we attach the system onto the knot. So they're attached in two different ways, but the end result is exactly the same. The beauty about using the knots is the fact that they are virtually invisible. So when we apply the knots in the areas, and I tend to put them in the most discreet areas, so the areas where, you know, at an eye view people are going to be able to see. So if it's in your front hairline or you've got a parting, those sort of areas, I will tend to use the invisible threads purely because it gives you the best results in terms of your hair looking invisible. Okay, so those are the three different options that we've got and that we use. And you know what? If you really want to see what those options look like, I would say book in for consultation with one of your consultants, and I bet you they'll be able to show you, because they are wearing the system all day long, and most of them will have the beads in, a few will have the clips in, and definitely if they're pulling their hair backwards, they'll also have the knots in as well. We can also do a demonstration of all the different types of methods on your own hair as well. So if you come in, we can show you how to do a knot, we can show you what the knot looks like, we can show you what the bead will look like when it's clamped to your hair, and we can also show you what the clip will look like, so you can get a feel of it. So those are the different ways in which we attach them again. But overall, I do want you to know that it is still a very light system. So although you may be able to feel the beads because of the fact that it is a bead, it doesn't add heaviness onto the system itself. And as well as the invisible thread, you can literally put your hand through your hair, and essentially you won't feel them. So I hope that has given you some education on how we install the system itself. It is not magic; it is installed onto your hair. But the manner and the way in which it's installed gives you that invisible look so that nobody knows that you're wearing anything. Next week I will talk a little bit more in depth about how to ensure that your hair remains healthy, because that's also another thing that you've got to take into consideration. It's so easy for us to have a system and forget about our natural hair. And I just want to encourage us that, you know what, our natural hair is just as important, even more important than the system that you're wearing. Never forget that your hair is there, and the purpose of the system is to lie alongside your hair, not to replace what you've already got. Okay, and before I go, I just want to say a word to somebody, and that word today is you are more. And you are more means, you know, you deserve more. You are you know more than you think you know. You deserve more than you think you deserve. You can do more than you think you can do. You know what? And you're just more. So just grasp onto that. I mean, regardless of what you're going through, regardless of where you are in your life, just know that you are more. You know, people will treat you the way you show them to treat you. And if you understand that you are more, people will treat you with more. I hope that's blessed you. Enjoy the rest of the week. You take care. Bye-bye.